We need to get real about something. Shopping is not fun, especially clothes shopping. I hate going into a dressing room with 1,000,001 things hanging over my arm to try on. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's so annoying having to get in and out of all of these different items just to try them on. The mirror, that's a whole nother story. They're awful. And I end up, and I know you do too, liking nothing. Something's gotta give, and this is where Stitch Fix comes in. Stitch Fix makes clothes shopping so much easier. You get a personal stylist that sends you pieces that match your size, style, and everything's in your budget. No guesswork, no stress. Here's how it works. You take a quick style quiz, you share your size, your style and budget, and you get matched with a real human stylist who catches your vibe. It's no risk, all style. Get a personalized Fix box straight to your door and try it all on in the comfort of your home. Shipping and returns are always free, and there's no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Welcome back to Unscripted. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige. I am so excited to talk about Paris freaking Hilton today. I am sat in my joggers. It's not a Juicy Couture sweatsuit set, but it is Quince, and they're super freaking comfortable. So I'm sat and I am ready.
You're prepared. We are going to talk about the woman who basically invented 2000 celebrity culture. She was an influencer before influencers were what they are now. And she somehow turned paparazzi chaos into a billion-dollar empire.
One of the reasons that when I say I'm excited to talk about her is because I feel like she's one of the most underestimated socialites ever. She is so smart, and not just business savvy. She is so smart, and something that we sort of got answers to, a couple years ago now through her documentary, is that this persona she puts out, well, being business savvy, being smart, being that original influencer, being really smart at branding and marketing herself as a brand, kind of Kardashian style, who she's still very close with.
She's the
Kim
blueprint,
Kardashian.
by the way.
She was the blueprint. And now we have learned that this also operated as something that protected her in a way from trauma that we won't go too deep into, because Paris is here to talk about her own trauma. And I highly suggest that you watch her documentary. If you haven't, it's on her YouTube channel, Paris Hilton. So if you go to her YouTube channel, you'll find the docu, or just search Paris Hilton docu. It will really help you get an even better understanding of like who she is, the brain that Paris has. I was going to say the brain behind. That's not right. It is her own brain. And just this powerhouse that she really is, as well as all that she did go through and has gone through. Like, clearly money did not buy happiness in Paris's case, but I'm sure for as much bad as she had in her life, there was a lot of good and interesting and funny.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we start at the beginning of Paris Hilton?
Mm-hmm.
She was born in February of 1981 in NYC. She is one of the heiresses to the Hilton hotel empire, basically one of America's most iconic hospitality empires. Everyone recognizes the name. She's the oldest child and daughter of Rick and Kathy Hilton. We all know who Kathy Hilton is now. She was a Real Housewife before being a Real Housewife was a thing, before that franchise was a thing. She's one of 4 siblings, so it's Paris, Nikki, Barron, and Conrad. And she grew up jet setting between NYC, Beverly Hills, and even the Hamptons. They had a place pretty much everywhere.
As the rich people like to do, right?
Right.
So Paris, if you've ever heard her talk, and I kind of talked about that persona, it's really kind of a little bit more high pitched, a little
It's a
bit
baby
of
voice.
like that. It's a baby voice. Absolutely. However, her real voice is a little bit lower, a little bit more like, I'm going to say smoky, raspy-ish, but it's more smoky than it is raspy.
There's absolutely a distinction between the baby voice of her dumb blonde decoy persona and her true authentic voice.
There's this part in The Simple Life, which I'm sure we're going to get to that era, where she's on the phone with her sister, Nikki, who I think is like about 2 years younger. And she's like, well, you try it, Nikki. And it's just like her natural, comfortable voice, right? And what's interesting about that too, though, is that her family described her actually as more of a tomboy. And this should come as no shock that she wanted to be a veterinarian growing up. And if you know Paris, she has rescued and, done a lot for dogs. She has a bunch of dogs of her own, like always at all times. She had one that was super duper famous during the Simple Life era, Tinkerbell. And then was there one named Bambi?
Yes, the smaller one.
Yes. And so she usually has like smaller chihuahuas. So people used to kind of eye roll at that, but she really does love her dogs. And she is credited. I just learned this the other day, not even researching at all for this episode, for one of her dogs living very, very long. I want to say till 25. Yeah. I can't for sure say that. And one of the things she does with her dogs is red light therapy, which is so interesting to me. And I will say there are actual like peer-reviewed studies on red light therapy and its benefits. Some of it's a little bit misunderstood that people are crediting red light therapy for, but it absolutely is credited for help within certain things that you can go on and learn about yourself if you want to research red light therapy. But so she was doing red light therapy for her dogs, and I'm ready to do it too. I'm not kidding.
This is a woman who loves animals in general, but really adores and appreciates her pets as members of the family. In fact, she even cloned one of her dogs, and 2 dogs were born from that. In her documentary after the I Am Paris, the one where she's getting ready to get married to Carter, you can see her mom meet both of the cloned dogs.
I didn't remember that, but you know what? It doesn't shock me at all, but that is absolutely wild. I've heard when you clone an animal, though, that like this clone may still have like its own personality and stuff, though. It's mostly just like some
aesthetics.
Genetic stuff, which is going to play a huge role. It will. But yeah, like it isn't the actual, but that's wild.
Yeah, it's not like, the same brain of the same dog, but it'll look
it's probably just going to like, and it's probably like twins. Like it might have a slight uniqueness, but like it's going to look identical.
She's not the only celebrity who's cloned a dog. I believe Barbra Streisand has also cloned a beloved dog as well. It's a thing amongst these circles. It's pretty wild. Another thing.
Hey, I want to clone Posey. I'm so jealous right now. She's only like 3 and I'm already like dreading the day that she won't be with me. So I'm like, please teach me. How much do I need to save?
Think it's like, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but.
Well, what's a lot cheaper is that red light, like a red light
therapy.
panel.
Go do that first. Let's.
The panels are like $60 on Amazon. Perfect. So I probably honestly, I actually might start doing it for myself and for her because it's just like really good. But so you could just see how much she loves her animals. And honestly, to me, that shows a bit of like family orientation a bit too, with like loving that specific dog so much that you're going to pay all that money to clone
Well,
it.
I yes. And I think it also shows how nurturing she is because, she did grow up buying pets, that weren't family pets. They were her own. She bought monkeys, snakes, goats. When I read her memoir, she even talked about how she had a bunch of ferrets, and one of her most beloved pets at the time, growing up was a pet rat. So this is Paris Hilton. You're not thinking she owns and loves and cuddles a pet rat, but here she is. She's literally written about it, how that was her favorite pet growing up.
That's wild. See the benefits of being in New York, because lest you forgot, or any of our listeners, ferrets are not allowed to be pets in the state of California.
Oh,
so
she talks about that too in the memoir, actually.
They famously have a home here in California. It was like Bel Air or Beverly Hills or both or whatever. But what does she say?
Well, she may or may not have bought it legally. She talks about how her and Nicole Richie, who everyone knows from, this famous duo from Simple Life, but they were actually childhood friends and they grew up as neighbors. And so they would get grounded a lot because, they were rebellious and, they did naughty things, but they would call each other, or I think they said they would run across like a golf course to talk to each other. And they both had these random caches of pets, all these different, like ferrets, rats, dogs, bunnies. They had everything.
It's so fitting. And you can really see, especially in the like limited series that they did more recently, you can really see that strong, like time-tested bond that they have. And they talk about being neighbors. But I would like to also remind our listeners, when they're talking about neighbors, there's probably acres in between, but they could hear each other. So when they would be grounded, they would sing this song to each other. And everybody knows the song now from the Simple Life in the early 2000s, but they would be like, Sana. It is so obnoxious, but it was that rebellious idea of like, cool, you can ground us, you can keep us in our houses, but we're still going to find each other. And I think that shows even through their falling out and how they came back together and everything, which I think was slightly fake, slightly real. I think there's a little bit of both, but
yeah, who really truly knows? I don't think we'll ever know. I think the only people know are Paris and Nicole.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think they want us to fully know because I think that it helped sell.
It gives us too much of a peek behind the curtain, and as an audience aren't privy to that.
We weren't breaking that fourth wall, so to speak, with reality TV when they were on it. So those things were very doctored, produced, but secret. And that feud helped sell season probably 3, 4, and 5 of The Simple Life. And I think they needed that. They really, really needed that to push those final seasons, I think.
I believe so. It drew a lot of attention to it. But I don't want to go too far because I think there is a moment in her life that we need to touch on before we start talking about The Simple Life, which is really the catalyst, that brought her into the public's eye the way, it was at the height of it all in the 2000s. But
now you really didn't know who they, like, probably our parents knew who they were in the 90s, but you're so right. We really didn't know them or her too much before the early 2000s, like super duper late 90s.
I think we didn't know of them if we weren't in New York, or one didn't know of them if you weren't in New York, because
exactly.
Paris talks about this in her memoir. She talks about this in some of her documentaries about how, she was known for sneaking out to go to parties. She was skipping school. She was eventually sent to multiple boarding schools for troubled youth, known for behavior modification. And that's in quotes because we know they were really just abusing these children.
Yeah, we know now.
We know now. And Kathy Hilton has said of this time, this era of Paris's life, that she was very out of control. It was frightening for the family. And this is a family that's super image conscious. Kathy Hilton, the rest of the Hiltons, they have an image to uphold. They're old money in the United States standards, not necessarily like the Rothschilds who Nikki eventually married into. That's old money. But for the US, the Hiltons have multi-generational wealth. And
right. Kathy didn't grow up wealthy at all.
she grew up in the limelight, but yeah, she didn't have the money to back it up. Kathy has seen both sides of what it's like to have money and what it's like not to. You could see why she likes to keep things cute and controlled, and how a wild child would be something of a stressor for her.
Sure, that would have been very stressful for an older boomer or silent gen. I'm not exactly sure how old Kathy is, but she is in her 70s, so she's right on that border. It would have been very stressful. However, there's always been a party scene for like every generation, but I think the 2000s was just very different, very, very fast, and I think a little bit younger than some other generations. Really, it probably mimicked the 1920s more than like other generations where you just had like, you know, clubs where like older adults would go to. These were young people, 18, 19 through 21, going to like 18 and up clubs, 21 and up clubs. No, she was
going to clubs at like 14, 15.
Yes, they talk about how fast you grow up when you are living in like New York City. And I know that LA probably has a little bit of this too, but it's not the same. These kids can get wherever they want, be it taxis, drivers. The wealth is unimaginable. And so access to everything is wild. And you can see this in another show about young people in New York. And I am so sorry to say, I forgot the name. Is it NYC Prep? I think it really gives this off too, where you see, oh my gosh, like they have so much access. Like these parents will leave their kids in the city at like 15, 16 years old and just go to wherever they're going while the kid is in school, or send them to boarding schools and things like that. So they just grow up and get these senses of independence.
I think once you get a taste of independence, at least if you're Paris Hilton, it's hard for you to
How do you take it away?
Yeah. How do you take it away? How do you let it go? Right. Somehow she was able to go to these clubs at 14 years old. Photographers out in New York were finding out who she was. This blonde, tall girl. She's
5'11".
Yeah, she's very, very tall. I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
Back in 2018, I was looking for a vitamin regimen that I knew I could trust. That's why it was such a relief when my sister told me about Ritual. Their mom founded and third-party tested for heavy metals and microbes. And what else really, really sold me was that you can see their sources and suppliers behind their key ingredients right there on their website. Besides the vitamins from Ritual that I take, they also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, from fertility support formulated to support conception outcomes to their essential prenatal and postnatal multi-options, which support key nutrient needs before, during, and after pregnancy. They also have their essential protein daily shake that's formulated specifically for pregnancy and postpartum. On top of all that, they also have their Symbiotic Plus that I take every single day along with my multivitamin. I love Ritual so much that I make sure all of my friends that are having babies and family planning turn to Ritual for their prenatal, pregnancy, and postpartum support. What's also really awesome about Ritual is how easy it is to take. Each capsule has this really cool delayed release design that makes it really gentle even on an empty stomach. Most importantly, it's third-party tested for allergens, microbes, and heavy metals. It's non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, and made traceable. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom Founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off.
Hey everyone, it's Natalie. And if you're anything like me and Paige, you need a way to unwind after diving into all of the heavy cases we cover every week. And lately, I've found the perfect escape. It's a mobile game called Scatter Slots, and I've honestly been loving it. Now I know what you're thinking, another slot game, but this one is completely different. Scatter Slots blends dark fantasy, rich storytelling, and gorgeous visuals to create an experience that feels way more like an adventure than a typical game. You play through a map, unlocking these really detailed slot worlds along the way, and each one has its own theme and vibe. And don't get me started on the graphics. So beautiful. I actually caught myself turning the volume up just to hear the music and sound effects. It's that immersive. It's also super easy to jump in and play for a few minutes, whether you're on your lunch break, waiting to pick up the kids, or just need a moment to yourself after a long day. And yes, I did win a mini jackpot my first time playing. No big deal. Whether you're in it for the fun, the wins, or the fantasy, Scatter Slots delivers it all. So what are you waiting for? Download it today and claim 12 million coins to jumpstart your adventure.
We're obsessed with Quince here at the Murder Diaries. We love all of the clothing items that we own from them. And guess what we just heard they had? Bedding. So you know that I added a pair of their sheets to my collection of bedding. And honestly, it's pretty flippin' amazing, and I don't know why I waited so long. Quince's linen bedding is everything that people say it is. It's light, breathable, and soft from day one. It's woven from 100% European flax. It's the perfect mix of relaxed and refined, and it just gets softer with every wash. The same goes for their ultra plush duvets, quilts, pillows, and shams too. They feature other premium fabrics like organic cotton, breezy bamboo, and skin-nourishing silk. Quince has everything you need to level up your bed. And the best part, like Quince's clothing that we love so much, their bedding is half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes those savings on to us. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. We love to see it. They use premium fabrics and finishes that you just cannot deny the quality of. If you're wondering what I've been using, it's the European linen sheet set in burgundy, and I love the way it looks. The color is so beautiful and the fabric is top notch. Level up your bedding with Quince and you'll feel the difference right away. Go to quince.com/MD for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/MD to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/MD.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
But she really emerged as like the original party girl archetype. And I think her mom and dad realized, oh, she's going to spiral out of control because she wrote about how she would spend all night out on the town in the clubs and come home at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., that her mom started sleeping in front of her bedroom door. so that she wouldn't escape, but she always would. And so, where there's a will, there's a way. And when you're Paris Hilton, you're always going to find a way.
I want to correct myself that Paris Hilton may be 5'8", which is still tall. And
it's taller than me.
But that's such a perfect picture of how big her presence is, because I'm like, yeah, she's like 5'11", like T Swift, right? T Swift, that same thing. But T Swift actually is 5'11". So that's just interesting to me, where I'm like, yeah, she's got to be like pushing 6 feet because she just has that in her. But can you imagine how she was getting out of that bedroom when her mother was asleep outside it? And this, again, just shows like money can only do so much.
Right.
It can only buy so much. It can only fix so much, right? Like these real world problems still happened to them.
And it is a real world problem when your teenage daughter is out on the town and you don't know where she's at, right? So I can imagine that her parents probably were really afraid of what could happen to her when, she wasn't under their roof. And not that it explains what they did, but I can see in their minds why they thought it was their only option. When she was 16 years old, they basically had her kidnapped. And that's how Paris describes it. She was forcibly taken from her parents' home and taken to Provo Canyon School. And that's a Utah-based therapeutic boarding school where she was, as she describes in great detail. We don't need to go into too many specifics, but it is openly known that it was deeply traumatic. She endured solitary confinement, forced medication, physical restraints, physical abuse, emotional abuse. All of this was happening in a facility her parents sent her to, but they really didn't know that that was the case. They were being told by the facility that she was being helped, that Paris ever said anything bad happened to her. She was lying. And
how easy to convince parents of that, though, right? This is a kid that they have lost so much trust in that they have them kidnapped by choice. These parents are making this choice to have their child kidnapped by people they don't know, to go to a facility they feel like they've vetted, that they've clearly been sold on. And then your child is telling you, like, I'm not safe here. I'm not safe here. I need to come home. I want to come home. Of course, it's going to be easy to have those worries if you bring them up to any personnel there quelled, because you're going to be like, yeah, you know what? It's right. She's trying to work one over on me again. Well, that's what she does. And we're not going to have that.
That is literally the mentality of Rick and Kathy Hilton at this time, because, they didn't know whether to believe Paris or not. And she had actually escaped several of these boarding schools. At one point, I think there was one that she was in California. She escaped and there were police cars sent after her. She somehow finds a payphone, gets the phone, and calls her Aunt Kyle Richards, which we haven't mentioned. Kathy is part of a famous sister trio. There's Kathy, Kyle, and Kim. They were all in the limelight, Little House on the Prairie, etc. Kyle is pretty close in age to Paris. They always had somewhat of a close relationship, at least according to Paris. And when she escaped and was able to get to a phone, she called Kyle and said, Aunt Kyle, I need your help. They're looking for me. They're chasing me. I'm not safe. They are abusing me here. And Kyle, according to Paris's memoir, said, okay, I'll come get you. But she never showed up. And instead, Kyle called Kathy. And Kathy called the school and said, this is where to get Paris. That just kind of shows you how little trust these parents had in Paris.
Right. And I do want to point out, as you mentioned, they are close in age and very close, or at least at times have been. They are only 12 years apart.
Yeah. So
and I'm thinking of me and my nephew that are 7 years apart and 14 years apart. So kind of in the middle there. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not.
You're more of a peer.
You can become more of a peer or more of an older sister status than you actually are an aunt that's 20, 30 years older than a niece or nephew.
Can you imagine the feeling of betrayal that Paris felt when Kyle literally basically lied? But she thought she was doing it to help, right?
And I feel like and I don't want to center this around me, but I want to validate a bit anecdotally that I too would call my sister. Kyle would have been in her 20s, late 20s when this was going on, because she wouldn't have even been 30 until 1999. So there's no way she would have felt like, okay, like I can do this behind my sister's back. And, you know, Kathy's basically like another mom to Kim and Kyle. So I think that people need to understand that dynamic as well. And so I can't blame Kyle for calling Kathy. She's thinking, okay, what can I do? I'm going to go get my niece. Well, wait a minute. Is this appropriate? Kathy spent money on this. This is Kathy's daughter. Can I go against what Kathy wants? The family is believing that they're helping Paris right now, but at an escaped status, I would be like, okay, I got to come get you. And then I'm calling your mom and saying, look, she called me. She escaped. I have her. This is what she, you know, like I probably might do something like that. But also I see where she called her first and why. Again, not even 30 years old, not a mom of her own yet.
And we also have to imagine that she was pretty far away. So she just knew someone had to get to Paris.
Yes. And actually, I correct myself. Kyle was a mom at this point. She had her oldest daughter at like 19. But so she's got all these things going on. She's raising a young daughter of her own, trying to figure all this out. I can't imagine what would have been going through Kyle's head. And I truly have to believe that Kyle would have felt like, I can help Paris and do right by my sister by doing it this way. I could only believe that, but what Paris must have been feeling, can you imagine?
Ultimate betrayal.
And because, you're already with all of these adults you can't trust at these horrific, like prison camps practically. And then somebody you've trusted your whole life exactly is like a big sister to you, only 12 years older, is the mom to a cousin you're probably decently close enough with. And they turn their back on you like that. Like you would be feeling that as a teenager. When you're a teenager, telling your parents, that's betrayal.
Well,
when you don't understand it the way that we're talking about the complexities here of what Kyle would have been going through.
It's eye-opening to read in Paris's own words everything that happened. And I really do want to emphasize that everyone should read the memoir. If anything, you'll just get an understanding of the different layers of who Paris Hilton is. It's definitely worth a read. Or even listen to the audiobook. She narrates it. That's
The best when somebody takes the time to narrate their own book, and most celebrities are going to. It gives you the actual intonations that they know that they wrote that in, or that they had their ghostwriter write it in. You know what I'm saying?
Can I give you a little bit of tea? So
please.
I actually did listen to the audiobook because I wanted to hear her narrate it. And towards the end of the book, I was actually shocked that there are like multiple editing errors where there's repeated sentences where she'll say something and then you can tell that they didn't use that take. So she started take 2 and they kept take 1 and then used take 2. I was shocked. It wasn't just one instance.
Interesting. I do want to listen to that book.
Get it from the library.
Really do.
Free.
I have those apps. And then I do have, when I have Spotify Premium, they have audiobooks that you can listen to on there too. So sometimes I'll pay for that, listen to a couple audiobooks. When I'm not, I might not do premium. Anyways, so that's definitely, I'm going to put that one on the list. I can't believe I haven't listened to it, because that's definitely one that I would be very interested in and am interested in.
Like I said, definitely go listen to it. Go read it. This is something that only Paris can really do justice for. And it's something that nobody in the general public or even her family knew about, because this chapter of her life really remained a secret for decades. So when she returned to, her regular life after she graduated from these boarding schools, she went right back into the nightlife. She became a fixture in all of the nightclubs, and she continued getting photographed. She eventually signed on to a modeling agency, and she started appearing on runways and magazine covers.
She was even declared New York's leading it girl around this time in like 2001. So that just tells you, after all of that horror that she experienced, the betrayal, the abuse, all of it, she came out to then being thrusted into the limelight by 2001. That's a lot to carry and unpack, and maybe actually not even unpack, to kind of...
She buried it.
You're burying it, and you're carrying that on your back for all of these years, really until the documentary, which was 2020 something.
Her reasoning for going back to her life, living her life the way she was, in the limelight, she wanted to make so much money that no one would ever take away her power again. And that was her motivation for everything that she did. And I don't know if she shared that with friends or family at the time, but at least according to her, in her own words, that's what she was doing.
She says in might be the documentary, it could have been the show she did with Carter. She's probably said in multiple places, she used to want to earn $100 million. And now she has changed that to $1 billion of her own.
She's adjusted for inflation.
She's adjusted. I always like to remind people, you don't really earn $1 billion. So that can be a very difficult thing to figure out. You could be earning like $100,000 since like Christopher Columbus was alive each year, never barely spending a penny, and you like still wouldn't have $1 billion, just $1 billion. So all that to say, it will be interesting to see if she gets there, if she's gotten there, and kind of what does get her there. But I think it's just a funny little quirky thing of like, yeah, I used to want to earn 100 million, which $1 billion is like 100 of that. So she'd have to do that 100 times over if she's going to actually physically earn it, which is pretty tough because she's like 40 now. So how are you going to do that 100 more times?
I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. And she's definitely strong-willed and makes moves.
Hey, listen, if anyone's going to do it, a Paris can, ethically or not ethically, right? Another little ethic twist in Paris's background is the 2003 sex tape that she made with her boyfriend, Rick Solomon. It ended up getting leaked, and by 2004, it was officially released as One Night in Paris. And I got to tell you, especially as a teenager at this time, this was huge. Bigger than Kim K's.
Oh.
But this was, everybody knew what this was. If everybody, it was the same level as like Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee's.
It
like,
was
it just
the scandal.
Huge.
It was the scandal.
It was a scandal.
It was in all the headlines. There was lawsuit. There was moral panic. There were late night show hosts doing monologues about her and making jokes at her expense. And this is a 22-year-old girl when it's happening. It feels like everyone's profiting off of her except her, because
how violating.
Yeah,
you know?
It's violating. She actually does come out and say this was one of the more traumatizing moments of her life because, I mean, it was on such a grand scale. It felt like everyone was attacking her. And they kind of treated her trauma like it was content. They used it, like I said, for jokes. They used it to sell magazines.
This tells you how many people knew about it and also saw enough of it to have context for bits. Like that they could do a bit about it and people would understand because maybe they had seen it or at least heard of it. And that blows my mind because like you said, this is a 22, 23-year-old girl that is going through all this. Like one of my nephews is 24 years old. I have another nephew that's 21, right in between there. Like, I can't imagine if they were a niece or even going through it as a man, but I can't imagine.
No.
Like, this is insanity.
Well, and it's kind of wild to me that she was the one getting blamed instead of the man who leaked it. That hyper focus on the young girl in the video and making her the punchline of all these jokes is a very good example of the early 2000s misogyny that was very much at play in the media at the time.
Yep.
As you mentioned, she is a very smart woman. And we see it here where instead of shrinking away and letting this become something that destroys her. She really embraced it and leveraged it and did some like PR magic by riding that wave of attention and into what would become the height of her career with the Simple Life.
Honestly, if I put my little tinfoil hat on right now, I wonder if maybe this is why Kim K and Kris Jenner released Kim K's
Oh, there's no tinfoil hat needed for this. It's widely speculated. I feel like they, at this point, almost admitted to that's why it was released. And we know
they have all but admitted. Exactly.
Yeah, and we know that there were reshoots of Kim Kardashian's sex tape, and Kris watched them and chose which one her daughter looked best in. So allegedly, we know they are a litigious family. We aren't going to get sued for that commentary.
And it is alleged, right? I mean, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day with what we're talking about right now. No. But yes, I think they may have seen what happened to Paris and how she took that power and then did the Simple Life and then rose to true fame. And that's what Kim was trying to do. So what, like a few years later, that's what happens to Kim. So it is interesting, like you said, not really much of a tinfoil hat needed. Well, and we are happy that Paris grabbed her power back.
We're so happy. And let's be honest, like we said earlier, Paris was the blueprint. Not to make this whole conversation about Kim, because we are deep diving Paris, but
they're close. It's really actually quite interwoven.
Yeah, their families are friends. They were childhood friends. Kim was her closet organizer at one point. And like that is the actual title of the job that she did for Paris.
Yeah, it is. She loved it too, by the way. She freaking loved those days. She talks about them all the time, glowingly.
Yeah, because she now doesn't have to live them though. You know what I mean? Like she's out of the closet.
So true. So true.
She has people organizing hers for her instead of her doing it for others. But Paris basically gave her the playbook on fame. And then Kim took it and had Kris Jenner as her secret weapon and made an empire of her own that like overshadowed whatever Paris was able to accomplish.
So you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what was going on during this time. So starting in 2003, we get what is still, I think, kind of a cult classic, The Simple Life.
As a sports fan, I have to confess, sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care too. Sephora, good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Paris and Nicole Richie, who actually Nicole was brought on after Rod Stewart's daughter couldn't do it. This is like famous lore, who's a little bit older than Paris, though, by the way.
That's after Nikki also declined. So it was initially pitched to both Hilton sisters. Nikki declined, and then Kim Stewart declined, and then Paris brought on Nicole Richie because they were childhood friends. They are a very chaotic and entertaining duo.
I couldn't imagine it with
anyone else.
Anybody else. This is a show that I have watched multiple times. Okay. And especially the first season, I've seen multiple times. Each season's a little bit different. We get 5 seasons from, again, 2003 to about 2007. So the first season, which really is the iconic one that people were catching on to, that the majority of people watch or think of when they're thinking about The Simple Life. Nicole and Paris go live in a rural town with I think 800 people called Altus, Arkansas. And this actually premiered not even that long after the leak. So it's not like the leak happened and then they hurried up and got the show. I think they knew what was happening by that point. And then, all of this, the PR magic Natalie mentioned, is happening just to kind of put it into perspective. The first episode was a hit. People were loving it. It drew in 13 million viewers. Just the first episode. So people were pumped to get to know what is going on with these crazy girls.
That's like Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah.
No show is pulling in 13 million views for its first episode.
Yeah.
And so I think people were really intrigued by this idea of 2 socialites with no phones, no money, no clue. They wanted to see these girls out of their element. So the fish out of water trope.
Yes.
And they really played it up.
I think we knew that there was some doctoring and that there was going to be some not doctoring. We knew by this point with reality TV. People who were on reality TV at this time will tell you we didn't. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We'd been watching reality TV since The Real World back in the early 90s. Okay, we had 10 going on 15 years of reality TV. I don't care what anybody tells you. It did not start in 2000. It started on MTV. Got to give it credit where credit is due. So we knew by this point, okay, some of this is going to be doctored and funsies, and other parts of it are going to be really interesting, watching these girls figure out rural Arkansas. Because even when things are doctored, that doesn't mean they're not doing it. If they make them milk a cow, they're still really milking a cow, and you're watching Paris and Nicole milk a cow or go work at a diner. And this family is so sweet. And they're actually still in touch with some of them. I don't know, how frequently, but it is a family that they sort of keep in touch with. And I bet you when cameras weren't rolling that it was much more normal, much more professional, and who knows where they were truly staying or sleeping or how many days a week they really stayed there. We don't know. But it was just such a great show. I was one of the 13 million viewers. And you got to remember, you were lucky if you had a TiVo back then. I don't know that we even had TiVo yet. You did not have DVR, okay, unless you bought specifically TiVo. So we were tuning in when it was on. That is just a second part of the draw. It's so easy for a show to get views when people are talking about it and somebody can go home and find it, whether it's a day later or a year later.
There's less of an investment,
not how this was.
Of time.
Right.
People sat down on their couches at their kitchen tables and turned on Simple Life at whatever time it turned on and watched it with the rest of the United States.
That's right.
And that is how much people bought into Paris and Nicole at this time.
That's such a great way of putting it. People had already bought into it. They were sat.
And this is really where she cements her dumb blonde persona, which we now know was a performative, but she played that role so perfectly, with the baby voice that we've talked about, the clueless.
That's hot.
Yeah. Her catchphrases of that's hot, which she has a couple now, like sliving and one other
Loves
one.
it.
Loves it. There we go.
That was a big one. Loves it is a big one. I catch myself saying that all the time, but now I say it, love it, but I know exactly where it came from and I cannot get it out of my vernacular.
It just shows what an influence she has had on the culture back then, but even now. She has infiltrated our vocabularies. She's infiltrated the way we look at reality TV. She has even infiltrated how certain laws are getting passed, which we'll get into. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but it really is incredible what she's been able to accomplish just as we're looking at the bright spot of her career right now with The Simple Life.
You bring up such a great point that she really did have such an influence on the way we talked and what we wore. Those low-rise jeans, those low-rise tracksuits. We were joking about my Quince joggers at the top of the episode. And I mentioned it's not a Juicy Couture tracksuit. Most people know oh yeah, early 2000s, mid 2000s Juicy Couture tracksuits. But Paris Hilton was the one. I'm thinking of this beautiful blue one she had.
I mean, she had so many.
We wanted them. We wanted them.
Yes.
Yeah. She had them probably in every color, I bet.
I'm trying to think where I don't think I ever had a Juicy Couture tracksuit. I think I probably got mine from Old Navy or something, or Mervyn's. I think it was actually Mervyn's. But
stop it, because we would have shopped at the same Mervyn's, and it cracks me up because
we didn't know each other at the time.
But we were there. We were there.
It's wild because she's the first person I ever saw carry a dog in a purse.
Yes.
Tinkerbell
Let's talk about the culture of that.
Everywhere.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
If you wore a blonde wig and put a stuffed dog in a purse for Halloween, people knew you were Paris Hilton. She was iconic in her own right. And so she really did become this global tabloid fixture. She was photographed constantly by paparazzi. They would chase her down the street. I remember an interview that didn't happen too long ago where her mother, Kathy Hilton, was telling the interviewer that when she didn't know where her daughter was, she would call a newspaper office. I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was the LA Times or the New York Times. She would call a journalist and ask, "Where is my daughter?" And they would say, "Oh, she was just spotted here. That's where paparazzi just took her photo." So that's how much she was being followed. This is before all of the paparazzi laws that we have in place. And they're still really bad, their behavior.
That is really eye-opening to, I think, the independence that Paris was wanting to have at this time in terms of yeah, I'm not going to be telling my mom my every move. Listen, my mom knows when I have a weird bump on my arm. You know what I mean? I tell her everything. And so I'm just absolutely the opposite. And so it just really screams her trying to come into her own. And it makes sense that this kind of, and I'm not even going to call it Barbie, but we could call it early 2000s Barbie if we want to be really specific persona, that she was creating that shell that protected her and helped her sort of, I'm going to say live through the trauma, because I don't want to say ignore, but it kept her, in my opinion, it kept her alive.
And I think it kept her moving forward too. You mentioned this Barbie persona. It really was this hyper feminine, ultra image of excess. It was, she was driving around in a pink Bentley. She had all of the Louis Vuittons that were unreleased at that time. You know what I mean? She always had the collection before it was made available to the public. She was the vision of money in the United States. She was super girly, super eye-catching, I guess is the only way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, the style of the kind of early to mid 2000s, we're talking 2003 through 2006, 7 of the Juicy Couture tracksuit with the oversized sunglasses that made you look like a fly.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, are still cute. I still barely like to see my eyebrows when I have sunglasses on. She coined that. Yeah, it was the style back then, but it was the style back then because of her and or these designers that were putting her in these outfits sometimes, or I should say sending her, not putting her in, but we're giving her access to them because they knew she was going to be photographed. That girl did not have to call a paparazzi to be like, "Hey, I'm going to be at this restaurant. If you want to get pictures of me leaving or coming or going or whatever." No, she did not have to do that.
They found
would
her.
Find her.
They literally stalked her.
Mm-hmm.
Every move.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that chaotic era of her life, of that ultimate height of fame, you started seeing the cracks a little bit in like 2006 when she got her DUI.
Yeah.
She got it in LA. She was charged with alcohol-related reckless driving.
Mm-hmm.
And then she eventually got in trouble again with the law in 2007 when she violated her probation, as she was sentenced to 45 days in jail. She ultimately served 23 days. She was released, and they kind of treated it like a red carpet event. There were helicopters, there were paparazzi. Everyone wanted the first photo of Paris Hilton leaving prison. That's what was selling tabloid magazines at the time.
Absolutely. And it makes me think of like Perez Hilton. Where do you think he got his name? And he made his career. He has since changed to a certain extent, but he made his career off putting those types of pictures on his blog, his website. And I think it's incredible, even with the amount of resources behind her that supported this outcome. So I do want to acknowledge that. I don't want to trivialize that yes, she came with a lot of resources that could make sure she didn't end up in this cycle. But I mean, she still kind of did, from getting arrested to prison for violating probation. She was in that kind of incarceration cycle. It is very difficult to get out of that cycle because it takes like just the littlest thing to, violate probation. You would think, oh, they just shouldn't break the law again. It's not always that. It can be very simple things. And then boom, you're back in jail. And then boom, you're back on probation. So yes, she had resources to like get her out of that cycle, clearly, that intervened. But regardless, she went from that to having 3 registered trademarks for That's Hot, Loves It, and Sliving that we talked about earlier. Now, Sliving, I have to argue, is a lot newer, and it kind of came with her cooking show, which, by the way, I ate up.
I watched
Literally,
it too.
pun wasn't intended, but hello, there it is. It was so good. And Kim Kardashian goes on that show. So if you want to learn a little bit more about their relationship, that episode might interest you. But like, how incredible, these trademarks have been used on clothes, probably bags, etc., other accessories.
Line. Perfumes. She's sold over like $2.5 billion in revenue of perfumes. She has like 27 different fragrances. It's wild to think that she was building this massive empire while we were all distracted by her dumb blonde persona, by the simple life, by her DUI and her subsequent arrest and imprisonment.
It's sad to me that it takes that persona and that distraction, that, oh, hey, I mean, some of it, again, very real, some of it very protective, some of it happened very organically. But it's sad to me that that persona is what was being pushed out there. And we weren't even realizing all of the power moves she was making. And they were very much right in front of our face. Do not even think that people were not out there buying her perfumes and everything. So meanwhile, she's out here really only getting posted for, being drunk at a club or what have you, and being, a bit of a quote bimbo, if you will. But meanwhile, yeah, she's absolutely building herself as a brand and as a business. It's so wild to me. It was all in front of our face. And it's true, that was very distracting. So that played a very big part in it. And it's sad to me that that's what it took to keep her name a household name that then made you want to buy the perfume inadvertently. Like, I'm not saying like, hey, yay, she got arrested, let me go buy her perfume. But it's just that like, that she is an icon. And so then you want to go buy her perfume. I mean, she was famous for kind of just like being famous in a way, right? Like having that name helped her get there and become famous. But then she was just famous. You're like, wait, yeah, like, wait, really? Who was she besides a hotel heir? Like and having lots of money, how did she become famous? Like there's a difference between just being rich and being a socialite in certain circles, but like being famous. And you're right. We were sitting there somewhat distracted, but also just completely trivializing and minimizing the smart business genius behind all this.
That was part of it, though.
Probably had to be, right? Like, that's what it takes. Isn't that sad?
It's what it took, but also that's what she wanted us to see. She wasn't ready to drop the mask of her armor, or, she wasn't ready to drop the armor of the Paris Hilton persona that she had created. She wanted to maintain that control. She wanted, in a very similar sense to how her mom was very image conscious, Paris Hilton is also very image conscious in a different way. She is very calculated with what people see, what people, take in about her. And I think even if we had been told what she was doing, no one would have really believed it because she wasn't going to let us see that part of her.
I mean, it took her, 20 or so years, give or take, before we even got that documentary. And I'm not saying, she needed to spill her guts about her trauma, which I appreciate her voice and her platform doing that. But she did, in that documentary, drop it. And then you want to know what? She picked it right back up to sell that cooking show and to sell the show that she had with her husband. And she did put it back on for the show that she had with Nicole, but you see it in a different light. You see the character. You see the Marilyn Monroe of it all.
You see how self-aware she is. There's actually this clip I saw on TikTok of her on Capitol Hill or somewhere. She's in front of a bunch of lawmakers and she is addressing her from behind a desk. Paris basically says in her baby voice, I love that sweater. I love your jacket. And then without a second of hesitation, she drops the baby voice and her actual voice comes out and she starts talking about the bill that she's there to pass.
She's really coming into her own at this time, even though she's 40 and it was probably a long time coming. She's really coming into her own. She got married in 2021, and that's the same year that she testified before the Utah legislator I always feel like I'm saying that word wrong, so just don't make me say it, people. But that's the same year that she actually testified in Utah in support of SB 127, which again did pass. And she did hold a press conference at the U.S. Capitol for Accountability for Congregate Care Act. So that she's kind of coming out of that probably 20, 25 year cocoon, if you will, at this point, to really everything she's worked for, everything she's been through is coming to this kind of pinnacle of her life, not just career, but life in 2021.
It almost feels like a plot twist, right? This is the woman who we now know was joking or was playing up the idea that she didn't know what was sold at Walmart. I think she famously said, Walmart, what do they sell? Walls? So
she knew.
Yeah, she knew. But that's one of her
she
quotes.
She probably knows that family. Yeah. There's no way she doesn't know the Waltons. Are you kidding?
From that to now passing a federal protection for children is kind of incredible.
Yeah. And by the way, she was becoming a mom at the same time. Around this time, she has her daughter and now a son, I think London and Phoenix.
Phoenix is older, 2023, London 2024.
Thank you for that correction. So she's becoming a mom during this time, and she's probably thinking of what world do I want to bring these children into, and what a kind of beautiful moment for that part of her life, which did take longer than a lot of her friends, but that she wanted for so long. She talks about knowing and wanting to be a mom for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it worked out for her. I think that we're really seeing a reinvention of Paris Hilton as she enters this motherhood journey. She is proving that she's someone to be taken seriously with all of her legal work that she's doing. I think it's really beautiful that after everything she went through, she's conscious about actively trying to heal generational trauma and make a beautiful life that she always wanted, and she's finally getting that. So good for her.
Pose is barking in the background, everybody, because she's spotted an SQUIRREL. And no, I cannot say that word or it will get her more fired up. But we are wrapping up, so I really don't want to, waste too much time in agreeing with Natalie that what a moment for her. And I'm loving this rebirth. I was actually thinking in my head, rebirth as her children were being birthed into this world.
It's true. Loves it. I don't know what else to say.
She's sliving, is she not? She's sliving.
All right, that's it for this week. Be sure to tune in on Thursday for our case coverage and next Monday for another episode of Unscripted. I think, as we might have mentioned, we have one more 2000s party girl to cover that you all may know. So
that you will be able to listen to next Monday. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to build that so that we can do more content for you guys. Before we can do that, we want to make sure we're building like a nice, healthy subscriber base, and you can listen to all the episodes there as well if you prefer. I know for me, it's easy to listen to podcasts that like work on YouTube as opposed to Spotify or Apple. So check us out on YouTube and make sure to follow us on all of our socials at the Murder Diaries Pod. If you want to listen ad-free, we have a solve for you, patreon.com/the Murder Diaries Pod. All right. It's not always fun to push all that stuff, but the more support we get from you guys, the more content that we get to put out, and we love doing it. So thanks for being here. We love you, and we will see you on Thursday and next Monday. Bye.
I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
Back in 2018, I was looking for a vitamin regimen that I knew I could trust. That's why it was such a relief when my sister told me about Ritual. Their mom-founded and third-party tested for heavy metals and microbes. And what else really sold me was that you can see their sources and suppliers behind their key ingredients right there on their website. Besides the vitamins from Ritual that I take, they also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, from fertility support formulated to support conception outcomes to their essential prenatal and postnatal multi-options, which support key nutrient needs before, during, and after pregnancy. They also have their essential protein daily shake that's formulated specifically for pregnancy and postpartum. On top of all that, they also have their Symbiotic Plus that I take every single day along with my multivitamin. I love Ritual so much that I make sure all of my friends that are having babies and family planning turn to Ritual for their prenatal, pregnancy, and postpartum support. What's also really awesome about Ritual is how easy it is to take. Each capsule has this really cool delayed release design that makes it really gentle even on an empty stomach. Most importantly, it's third-party tested for allergens, microbes, and heavy metals. It's non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, and made traceable. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom-founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off.
Hey everyone, it's Natalie. And if you're anything like me and Paige, you need a way to unwind after diving into all of the heavy cases we cover every week. And lately, I've found the perfect escape. It's a mobile game called Scatter Slots, and I've honestly been loving it. Now I know what you're thinking, another slot game, but this one is completely different. Scatter Slots blends dark fantasy, rich storytelling, and gorgeous visuals to create an experience that feels way more like an adventure than a typical game. You play through a map, unlocking these really detailed slot worlds along the way, and each one has its own theme and vibe. And don't get me started on the graphics. So beautiful. I actually caught myself turning the volume up just to hear the music and sound effects. It's that immersive. It's also super easy to jump in and play for a few minutes, whether you're on your lunch break, waiting to pick up the kids, or just need a moment to yourself after a long day. And yes, I did win a mini jackpot my first time playing. No big deal. Whether you're in it for the fun, the wins, or the fantasy, Scatter Slots delivers it all. So what are you waiting for? Download it today and claim 12 million coins to jumpstart your adventure.
We're obsessed with Quince here at the Murder Diaries. We love all of the clothing items that we own from them. And guess what we just heard they had? Bedding. So you know that I added a pair of their sheets to my collection of bedding. And honestly, it's pretty flippin' amazing, and I don't know why I waited so long. Quince's linen bedding is everything that people say it is. It's light, breathable, and soft from day one. It's woven from 100% European flax. It's the perfect mix of relaxed and refined, and it just gets softer with every wash. The same goes for their ultra plush duvets, quilts, pillows, and shams too. They feature other premium fabrics like organic cotton, breezy bamboo, and skin-nourishing silk. Quince has everything you need to level up your bed. And the best part, like Quince's clothing that we love so much, their bedding is half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes those savings on to us. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. We love to see it. They use premium fabrics and finishes that you just cannot deny the quality of. If you're wondering what I've been using, it's the European linen sheet set in burgundy, and I love the way it looks. The color is so beautiful and the fabric is top notch. Level up your bedding with Quince and you'll feel the difference right away. Go to quince.com/MD for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/MD to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/MD.